So I'm here with Steve Fryette. You keeping well, Steve? Better than me. Better than me by the sounds of it.
Our sales manager came to me yesterday and goes, "Save it, dude. It's the first day."
No, I've lost it all already. Well, hopefully we've only got a few more interviews and stuff to do today, and then I can chill out and have some fun. So you've been very busy as always. Lots of cool new stuff. I'm blown away. This is like, tell me about this. What is it?
The idea was to blow people away, not because of G the gain or G the clean headroom, but really answer the debate about viability of a tube amplifier in the digital world.
Yeah.
And it's easy just to say, well, that's never going to happen, or, you know, combining the technology, or live with both. You can say all that stuff, and in reality you can do that, but we hadn't seen anybody actually put it into practice, and that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah, my brain was like whirring away when I saw the email come through, and I was, you know, trying to wrap my brain to see if anything.
Which is great, because it gives us a lot to talk about. And it's not just driven by ego or just wanting to do something different or best anybody. We have a really good working close relationships with our artists like Steve Fryette and Paige Hamilton and a lot of guys that are Stephen Carpenter, guys that not just asking them questions and having them give their random answers, but actually sitting down and playing stuff and talking about their problems. Dean DeLeo, I love my rig. I've been using the same rig for 35 years. I don't really want to change it, but we're spending a shitload of money shipping it. And my accountant is going, can't you do something about that? And he asks me, okay, so what can you do about it? I said, I've been telling you for the last 2 years, we can help you. But with a guy like that, he had to be when he was ready.
Yeah, of course.
Paige Hamilton's a little different. He's like always evolving, always growing as a musician, writing new material, listening to things, but he's still a die-hard Ultra League guy.
Yeah.
And when I showed him the format, he's like, just okay, great. This answered all the questions I was going to ask you about where we're going next with my rig. And the idea is simply, with all the reissues that are going on out there, that's not looking forward to me.
No.
But a lot of people are asking for the Ultra Lead. We want the Ultra Lead. We want it back. I want it back, but on terms that make sense going forward, not just because we can say we did it. Because the reality is, to make an amp at the component quality and execution level of the original Ultra Lead, there'd be a $6,000 or $7,000 amp. It really would be minimum $5,000 and probably more.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was crazy.
But at its heart, you know, people looking at this for the first time, this is still a 100-watt tube amp, right?
And I'll show you the back so you can see the tubes in it.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people will see this straight away and think it's like a, you know, a digital.
It's all a digitized Ultra Lead. Oh, is that what you did? Absolutely not.
No. But at its heart, we take this out.
It's the Ultra Lead.
Yeah.
The original Ultra Lead, the original preamp structure, all the gains, all the switchable functions and features of the original amp that had mini toggles and push buttons all across the front of the panel,
and you can keep the form factor pretty neat as well by having this screen and the buttons here. It's turning into don't want to mention any other names, but certain other amps there's like 65 knobs on the front.
Well, the SIG-X had 20 knobs and 20 switches on the front panel at the time. That was a great selling amp, but it was, people just like looked at it and their eyes crossed. So we taken all the switches and the buttons from the 3 channels and put them all together as global programmable switches over here. So one bright switch will operate the different bright circuit execution of each of the 3 channels, because they're voltage controlled now. It's the original circuitry that's switched on and off, but those switches are voltage controlled, so one button will do the same function on each channel when you switch to that channel. The same with the rhythm channel. and the lead channel. So you have the menu of all the functions for each channel.
And you can map everything to each channel.
That's right. And then you can mute the channels.
Yeah.
So in the clean channel, you see there's a blank spot there.
Yeah.
That means that the clean channel hasn't got a mid boost. Well, the clean channel originally did have a mid boost, and it's going to go back in. We just didn't execute it yet, so it's not in the software.
No, sure.
So the production one will have that.
Yeah.
But the low and high gain mode, the clean channel had a boost. It will have a boost, and the bright switch on each channel will be the same functionality, and then the rhythm and lead channels have that mid bar button that just sort of gave it that 70s mid style
sound,
thing.
yeah.
And then the original amp had pre-EQ for each of the sounds.
Yeah.
So when you see the clean channel, you'd have one pre-EQ voicing, and a different one for the rhythm, and a different one for the clean, or for the lead.
Sure.
Similar to what we did with the Synergy platform that's actually controlled by the cathode switch in the module.
Yeah.
So you would change the pre-EQ voicing in the platform depending on which module you use.
Yeah.
So that was originally happening in the Ultralead and the CL and the CLX and the Deliverance a long time ago. We've always used that technology, but we've always made it specific to the channel.
Yeah.
Now you have direct access to those three voices, and you can assign them to any channel.
Perfect.
So that's there. And then you're familiar with the GPDI and the dynamics where you can dial in sag.
Yeah.
Well, with a switch mode power supply, there is no sag. It's a really tight power supply. They're regulated, they're stable, they're pretty bulletproof.
Yeah.
But they don't give when you lay into the amp.
No, sure.
So our power supply design actually has a voltage control trigger that will cause the voltage to shift based on your string attack when you play. We did that in the Synergy unit, we did that in the GPDI, and we did it in the original GP3 preamp 20 years ago. And it's always been really popular because it really works, because it's triggered directly on the string attack. Yeah. So that is here, but we didn't want to put any more knobs on it, so we made it a 3-step function. So 0 is no sag, and 1 is about just a little less than midway up the knob, and 3 is full. So full sag, it's not as much as like a rectifier would be, but it's as much as you would want on the Ultralead without sagging out the Ultralead and making it something that it's not. Because really the Ultralead was the amp that you had to be a precise player to be able to navigate, and we don't want to lose that, of course, but we want other people to be comfortable playing as well. So that takes care of that. Then we switch the menu and we get the graphic EQ on or off. Somebody yesterday asked, okay, in the event that the DSP goes down at a gig, am I dust? No, you just turn it off, and the power amp carries on. Goes directly to the preamp goes directly to the power amp and bypasses this entirely. Wow. Two things about that. One, it gets you out of that problem, and secondly, you can hear how there is no difference in the performance between the two. So that'll basically answer your question when you go to demo it. Yeah. All right, let's find out what's really going on here. And you switch that off and go, oh, wait a minute, is it on or off? That's the effect that I want. We have a preset menu, so when you just press that, it opens up where you store all the presets. Yeah, sure. You can also see that up here on the graphical interface. You have the preset menu up here. It only lists 16 presets, but it's actually infinite number of presets that you can put in there. You just can put in as many as you need. Then we have the cap sims, which you can select here, or you can select up here. We have the analog cap sim, which is the analog cap sim on the GPDI. Oh, nice. Which works the same way. And I like the analog cap sim for clean stuff. Yeah. It tends to work better than IRs because you're talking more about fidelity and less about trying to recreate what a cabinet does. so you can really get a nice
Really pure, but a pure sound, isn't it?
It's basically a great way to enhance what the tone controls do.
Yeah.
So that way you don't have to have this really specific tone stack to get a Fender clean or a high-wet clean or something like that. You can get a sort of a vintagey Fender clean, a modern Fender clean, a high-wet clean, or a Vox kind of clean. You can set that up here, and then you can accentuate it by really modifying the speaker shape that you would be typically using with that amp, and that opens up a whole bunch of possibilities for the clean sound. The only thing that we did different on this than the original Ultralead was we gave the clean channel its own master volume.
Right.
Because the previous amp had a global master, but the problem was that if you turn the global master down and we clean up, the clean would get brittle sounding and dirty.
Right.
And it was
grubby that up a little bit then, maybe.
Right. So this way, you can preset the clean before it gets to the power stage, and we eliminate that problem. Now when it breaks up, it's a smoother breakup. Right. So we just expanded the palette of the clean for this amp. Then the rhythm channel, all the same functions as the Ultralead, but the Ultralead only had one set of EQs, and so now we have two. And then the rhythm channel, the lead channel, same thing. It's voiced slightly different than the rhythm channel. Its own tone stack, which is what everybody wanted. But what was really the most important thing about that was that we have the presence and depth controls, which were originally on the back of the Ultralead. Right. Now they're up front, and each channel has its own set. We didn't put it on the clean channel because the clean channel needs to be wide open anyway. Yeah. So it's got kind of a predetermined feedback because the presence and depth work with the feedback.
The thing with these amps as well, those, the original amps, you can really fine tune the feel of the power stage, can't you?
Which you really want to do on the high gain side. Not so necessary on the clean. You want it just to be big and broad. So that's the way it's preset. And that way we don't have two extra knobs over here that you don't really need.
Sure.
So these are still all in the analog domain. So they're not programmable. You still have to manipulate them.
Even without touching any of this stuff, you're still going to be able to plug in and just dial up great tones.
Yeah, right.
Really
and then if you want to enhance it, then you go here or on the front panel, and you've got the original Ultralead EQ. Even looks like the Ultralead EQ. All the same frequencies, the same amount of cut and boost. And the same
can you click on one and then can you adjust it on here?
You just press that button and then you select.
Well, it's responsive,
Right. So press the button again and then move it to select the next.
Nice.
Yeah, right. And press that. And it's velocity sensitive, so when you turn the knob faster, it'll change faster. Nice. And if you want to fine tune it, you just turn it slower.
Getting it all ready for a nice scoop sound for you.
Yeah.
That's great. Really cool. And then in terms of controlling the amp, is it like, do you use it with a MIDI?
Right. So any MIDI foot switch will.
And I assume then you can just save as many patches and stuff as you want.
Pretty much an infinite number of presets.
Right. Wow.
With MIDI, you'll have 128 presets.
And can you turn? Has it got? I assume it's got an effects loop, and you can turn that on and off.
The effects loop doesn't turn on and off.
No, you just.
In our experience, it's kind of been the bypassable effects loop has been a superfluous feature.
Yeah.
Who turns off their pedals, whole pedal system or their whole rack system?
Sure. And I guess if you're using a MIDI system, you're going to be controlling the amp, the pedals, and all that kind of stuff anyway, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
If maybe you and 3 other people said, you know what, we really want that, we've got room to do it, but it just seemed like it was superfluous.
Yeah.
So we've never had, of all the people that replace the foot switch when they lose the foot switch or it breaks, we've never had anybody say, my effects loop button stopped working.
Sure.
So we just decided to keep that part of it really clean. You can unplug it and it completely bypasses the effects loop circuit.
Anyway.
So in either case, whether it's the front end or the effects loop end, if you want a direct feed from the preamp directly to the power amp, you just don't use those features.
No, sure.
Then we got to talk about the IRs.
Yeah.
Which 500 milliseconds. 44, 1, 48K, and 96K.
Everything then, basically.
Yeah. And some IRs are not always compatible with every IR player because of some formatting thing. So this senses the formatting and corrects it automatically. You don't have to fiddle around with it.
Just load them in.
And it also displays the parameters of any IR you're using. I learned something about IRs the other day because of this. I was listening to one of our Fryette IRs. It's 20 milliseconds. And people go, well, that's not enough. You need 200 milliseconds to get the low-end bandwidth. Well, we got a 200 millisecond IR in here, and I played that one to hear this extra bandwidth. And the 20 millisecond one blew it away. And I went, okay, what's going on here? And what's going on is it's not just the file length that determines how good the low end sounds. It's how you create the IR that determines how good. Now with guys that are doing things like when they're creating IRs, they're mastering them. They're sweetening them up after the fact, or overdubbing two cab models on the same IR. They're blending them. Great. The problem is the cabinets get less time aligned at the extremities of the frequency response. So the phase issues show up in the low frequency and the high frequency. The mids are okay. But sometimes some of the low end frequencies can cancel out, and in this particular IR, the bottom end was kind of flatulent, where the 20 millisecond one, which is just a single cab, was huge on the bottom. So it's kind of fun to watch what the parameters of the IR you're using and compare that to your experience and what you've been told about what you're supposed to see.
That's the thing. People will see a number that they've associated on the internet as not being the correct thing.
Yeah, it's kind of like opening up the box a little bit and letting you see under the hood, which I went, that's not a bad thing, right? So you get that, and then you get the ability to do an interesting thing. The GPDIR has the 1 watt power amp in it, so that it sounds like a real amp when you record it directly, because it has a real power amp that you can slam it or run it wide open and be clean. This has that 1 watt amp circuit in it as well. A 1 watt circuit driving a little transformer, driving a little reactive load, just like the GPDI, just like the original GPDI from 10 years ago. That's been a mainstay, and I put it in here for this reason. When you want to record silently, what do? You load the amp down with whatever attenuator, and then take the line out off of that and run it into either it's got IRs built into it, or you use them in your DAW or whatever. Great. But the amp is blazing away, and in some cases that might be fine. Or if you're running it with a cab and you want to mic it and record it direct, that may be fine. But there are times when you just want it to be silent and you don't need the power amp to do anything, so you turn it off. When you turn it off, the 1 watt power amp is always working. So you can select which power amp is driving the IR load. Either the 100 watt amp or the 1 watt amp. And that's what comes out of the XLR out, or the high-speed USB. You can plug that directly into your computer and get it out that way. So you can record this directly to your workstation without the need of an interface.
Is there anything you've forgotten?
Well, I'll keep going and you tell me if I left anything out. The IR loader will feed off of, as I said, each power amp. If you're playing live, for example, you can either send the IR loader the signal from the amp connected to the cabinet to front of house, or you've got the 100 watt power amp driving the cab, but you've got the 1 watt amp sending to front of house. Why would you want to do that? The front of house speakers are these huge high fidelity speakers with tons of low end and high end. That could make the amp sound kind of brittle, and the 1 watt power amp can be set to soften it up a little bit. So the audience experience,
what it's like on the stage, the feel.
I mean, I've heard concerts where you can't tell what key the song is in because you can't hear the mid-range on the guitar or the bass. and you can only hear what the song actually sounds like if you get up in the front of the stage. Yeah, you're deafening the audience with brute power, but
that is the thing, isn't it? With a lot of direct outs, you know, you tweak up the amp and stuff like that, and they sound amazing. As soon as you hear the sound coming out of the PA, it's a bit of like a humbling experience at times, can't it? Because it just doesn't sound or feel like what you're experiencing as well. So
when the Ultra Lead came out, we also had an amp called the 100 CLX, which was originally the Pittbull Classic.
Yeah.
That had EL34s in it. It was very well accepted amp. A lot of people used them. And then the Ultra Lead came out and nobody wanted to hear about it. But we stuck with it, and eventually Page Hamilton heard it and he went, "That's my amp." And the focus completely disappeared on the Classic, and the Ultra Lead became the new standard. All of a sudden it was being adopted. But there's still diehard people that like the CLX, which had 34s. So I always, before we started doing this and we talked about reissuing it, I was thinking, okay, great, that means we have to reissue both, and then we have to explain what the differences are. And I always thought that it should be able to do both. I mean, we know how to do that. We just don't want to spend too much time explaining how it works or why. So in that process, I developed a transformer design that we applied for a patent on it that properly sets up the impedance and the amplitude of each pair of power tubes, even if they're separate power tubes, and separate bias controls for each one, so that you can bias them properly and have them coupled to the transformer properly, so that they will both contribute equal amounts of power to the load properly and still sound like they're individual tubes. So in effect, you can blend the characteristics of EL34s and 6550s and KT88s in actual practice and not have one power tube, one pair doing the load, all the work, and the other one kind of adding some little sizzle, whatever. They both contribute to the full bandwidth of the load. So that's different than any other expression of tube mixing. So this will ship with a pair of 6550s and a pair of EL34s. It will accept all KT88s or all 6550s, but it will only accept one pair of EL34s, which you're going to want the other 6550s anyway to get the improved bass response. And if it's too much bass response, you can always dial it back with this function.
What do you like best?
I like them best together because the EL34s, they don't give an EL34 sound completely unless you turn them off. And how do you do that? The standby switch is programmable also. So you can select just the EL34 pair or just the 6550 pair or blend them together. And because they're properly impedance matched, when you turn off one pair, it doesn't upset the impedance match. So you don't have to switch the impedance on the back of the amp to compensate for that anymore. That's another benefit of the new transformer design. So what do I like best? Well, the EL34s blend so well with the 6550s in the mid-range area that all the 6550s do is fill out the top and bottom, and the EL34s give you that nicer saturation in the mids. And it's very subtle, the difference, but it gives you this more broad twang when you play it.
I can't wait to hear it, you know, hearing that combination of the two.
So it will respond to the different characteristics of different brands of EL34s, different brands of 6550s and KT88s, but they won't be radical differences. They'll just be subtle, a little less salt, a little more pepper kind of a thing. And I think that is everything. Oh, well, when you're touring, because of the power supply, you don't have to worry about the voltage in which country you're in.
Amazing. It's incredible. So you haven't forgotten anything. It is all in there.
I forgot one thing. It's 20 pounds.
20 pounds of weight. Can we have a look at the back?
This is the IR level here.
Okay.
And this is the effects loop level there, like the original effects loop level. And then the impedance selectors, 2 speaker jacks.
Keep everyone happy. And
and if you look in between the power tubes, you'll see that the bias controls for each pair is accessible back there, so you can reach in with a screwdriver.
And it have like a cover over the back, I assume.
There's a grill.
Yeah.
It's fan cooled.
Yeah.
The fan is on the side. It's a large size fan, so it turns at a slow speed, so it's not noisy. We do get a lot of, if the fan is too efficient, it's too noisy, so we get complaints about either it's too hot or it's too noisy. And so we're trying to find the Goldilocks combination on this.
Just right. Nice. Awesome.
I guess that's about the size of it.
Yeah. And when were these shipped?
March.
Wow. Okay. We better get our order in then, sharpish.
Yeah.
Get some on board. What is the US retail?
The US retail is $39.99.
Yeah.
We have an introductory price right now, which is $39.99, but it includes the case.
Okay, right. Amazing. Yeah. Well, it's it's completely new. I just can't think of anything else like this. It's going to be
kind of.
Yeah, it's just incredible.
We weren't trying to make something like nobody else has this. We were just ticking off every single question we've ever been asked by anybody about.
And you're just not a reissuer, are you? You could have taken the easy and just gone, oh, we'll make this again.
We did the classic power amp one time as a reissue. But there was a reason for that. It was our 30th anniversary. And we had some of the materials that we could do it with. We had some of the original transformers in stock, and the circuit boards, and we had an opportunity to do it, and there was a demand for it. It was a lot of work to get the panel just right, and they were expensive, and I kind of cringed about that, but the demand was very strong, and the 30th anniversary, it made sense because it was the 30th anniversary of that model as well. So we just went. With the power amp, it's a little different.
Yeah, of course,
Doing a whole amplifier in today's regulatory environment, that means that transformer technology changes, the voltage, the way the insulation inside is required, the certification stuff, the regulatory stuff, the way that has to be done is way different. You can't make it exactly the same way and make it legally sellable. No, you have to change stuff.
Yeah, and then things change then, don't they?
Now, of course, the output transformer is the same design as far as audio quality and function, but the shape is different to fit in the box. We took the original Ultra Lead transformer, just made it shorter and longer, but it's all our transformer supplier, most transformer manufacturers modeled the design of a transformer to figure out how it's going to be built. And so we took the Ultra Lead transformer model and then just changed the physical shape and then adjusted it so that it would match the original model so that it would perform exactly the same way. And then we made this design changes to accommodate the tube blending thing, which didn't change the overall topology of the transformer. It just changed how it was constructed with regard to the windings. But it still had to match the original model in performance. So we just changed the physical shape of it, the form factor, to fit in the box. And that was it. Everything else stayed the same. The way the preamp board and the power amp board are connected together is a little different. But it's just a signal connection from one to the other, and the voltage supply. The only thing that significantly changed was the power supply, and that was just to improve efficiency, reduce cost, make it easier to put it in a package like this, and guarantee really just bulletproof reliability.
Amazing. And well, it's coming pretty soon then. We're going to get ours on order as soon as possible, and the next thing for us to do is get one into the studio, plug it in and have some fun with it, and report back. Is there
well, we're going to do a pre-production run of a few units and do the final testing, and we'll get those out.
So they're the March ones,
right?
That's great. Is there anything else new that's ready now?
The Valvulator Mini, which is the reproduction of the original Valvulator 1. For all the Valvulator guys that are hoarding 4, 5, and 12 of these things because you're afraid if it breaks you're never going to get one again, we got your back. this is the original Valvulator 1 with more headroom, lower noise, the same input and output impedances of the original, but it adds the drag switches to emulate the behavior of guitar cables on the input stage. It has the same dual outputs the original one had, but the second output is transformer isolated now, so you won't get a ground loop between a couple of combos if you have them plugged in together. And an XLR out, which is also transformer isolated, so you can use it as a direct box if you want.
If you wanted to run a like a germanium fuzz, would you still have to go into the fuzz?
You would
first?
still want to put a germanium fuzz in front of it.
Fine, yeah.
So you're going to want that one to be true bypass,
Sure.
right? So that it can do its job with the rest of the stuff. Internally, we haven't figured out where it's going to go yet. This is the beta unit. The production unit will also have a phase switch on the XLR.
Okay.
So that if you, it may have to be on the isolated out too. If you have two amps running together that are out of phase, you're going to want to compensate for that.
Of course, yeah.
So we've been figuring out how to squeeze a phase switch in there.
Yeah.
Whether it's going to be on the top or on the back, we don't know yet. But that's the only other thing that it needs to be addressed on there.
Yeah.
It runs off of 12 volts DC instead of 120 volts like the original, and it only draws 300 milliamps, so you can use like a pedal power 3 or anything else that does 12 volts and 300 milliamps. Super quiet, low heat, and ultra reliable.
You know, just normal pedal size, isn't it? As well. The old one was
It'll
much
fit
bigger, wasn't
underneath
it?
the pedal board.
Yeah. Right. And what's the? Do you know the retail on this one?
$199.
So yeah, awesome, amazing. Well, hopefully everyone's been able to hear that amongst this horrible noise that we're experiencing.
These will be ready. These will be ready in February.
Okay, great. Well, we'll get all of this stuff on order. You know, we love stocking all of your stuff, and like, you know, we just want to say thanks to all of our customers that have supported us in buying Fryette gear. You know, Power Station still the one, isn't it? Still doing brilliant, and yeah. So just want to say thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Great to see you again.
Next time. Thank you.